Hey guys, Destin German Agent here. I may sound a little different because I'm trying to look something else, trying something different here because a while back ago I read this heard this news story. Kind of was sketchy on it, but who cares? But I think we should. I think I should at least have some comments on this article because it's kind of a stupid. I guess you could call it a hit piece, but it's it's something. So, and also I'm trying this Power Director program for the first time like this. So please don't hate me for the choppiness and such. So let's get on to the story.
Violent depictions of women being beaten, raped, and run over by cars. It's not the movies, it's video games. And now the women calling for change in this multi-billion-dollar virtual industry are facing a very real backlash, including death threats. Here's my Nightline co-anchor, Juju Chang.
Okay, first of all, violence against women. Okay, there's been many video games off the top of my head that people just say, "Oh, this portrays women in a bad way," or blah blah blah. So what? I mean, and yet here we're having this guy saying, "Oh, violence against women in video games." Are we telling people it's okay to kill women in real life when you can do it legally in, video games? I mean, you can kill as many women you don't have to kill women in video games. I mean, it's not mandatory or anything. It's just a stupid video game that's that's it's just people want to kill people. That's all. I don't care if you're a man or woman. I kill a lot of women in video games. Does it make me murderer? No. First problem with this news story.
For Anita Sarkeesian, this is the new normal. Armed escorts at public events, tracking her every move.
I'm constantly aware of the fact that there's an enormous amount of hate directed towards me.
Hate in the form of bomb threats, rape threats, even death threats.
Maybe because you get those bomb threats, death threats, and all kind of other threats you've been getting lately, Anita. It's because you lie so much. I mean, or they're fake. I don't know. I mean, I'm not babying you 24/7 like everyone else does. So I really don't care how you're getting these bomb threats. But do you deserve them? No. So that's that.
On this morning, high alert at Loyola University in Chicago. It's Anita's first speaking engagement since threats of a shooting massacre forced her to cancel her last appearance.
Well, canceling her appearance because somebody called them a bomb threat or threatening to shoot up a place. Yeah, that's kind of normal for people to do because who cares who's does it? I mean, Anita just says, "Oh, it's gamer gators and blah blah blah, harassment, blah blah blah," and I don't care.
All because this media critic dared to criticize something millions of us play every day.
Who plays video games?
Video games. The threats making splashy headlines around the world on shows like Melissa Harris Perry.
The threat of violence, all too real.
And webcasts like Democracy Now! And HuffPost Live.
Violent threats for pointing out sexism in video games.
Things got heated, to say the least.
The harassment became part of what's now known as Gamergate.
Okay, Gamergate was supposed to be about ethics and journalism, not harassing women till they leave the gaming community for men, so that men can play. It was about ethics and journalism and video games journalism, so I think that they're missing the point here. So, yeah.
What started as an online spat about the ethics of gaming journalism quickly escalated into a full-blown culture war.
Women shouldn't be mere disposable objects or symbolic pawns in stories about men.
And a small but hardcore group of gamers resistant to change.
Okay, well, at least they're saying something good, but it was about ethics and journalism, but yet, where does it change about Where does it change to online harassment? That's what we need to know. Where did it change from gaming ethics and gaming journalism into harassing women? I mean, I'm not against change as long as it's like a good form of change that I can see something productive and willing to accept. But I don't see why hardcore gamers would be against change, for better ethics. I mean, is this what about better ethics? Changes for better ethics? People are against better change in ethics? Yeah, I think this part is just a flat out lie.
God ordained that it is one man, one joystick.
But Gamergate doesn't just affect boys playing in a basement. The stakes are much higher than you might think. We're now spending more money on games than movies and music combined, to the tune of $21 billion.
Okay, $21 billion for the game industry, which makes more money than the music and movies industry. Okay, that probably seems like a fair estimate, but but I also pretend to see how many units are selling and how much it, actually profiting. So, got nothing against that. So, who cares?
And what might surprise you, there are now more adult women playing video games than there are teenage boys.
Now, I may have a small little problem with this because they're comparing all the women to a small group of men. Now, isn't that sexist or something? Because if you want to compare Group A to Group B, you gotta have a level playing field. So, yeah, I kind of see where this is being problematic, especially with me, because if you want to have a fair comparison, you gotta have two groups that are about the same. I mean, it can be the same in numbers, but one could be one race, another can be another, so that kind of stuff. But they're comparing all the women, but few of the men. So that's what's getting me about this little part.
We're talking about fantastical scenarios like the ones in BioShock and epic adventures in games like Mirror's Edge. What is it exactly that's so disturbing in some video games that's making women like Anita willing to face death threats?
Maybe because there are lies and misrepresentation and cherry picking information, because that seems the biggest complaints against Anita Sarkeesian, because she always cherry picks and misinformed. So other than that, that's all I can think of. So so yeah.
Just when you think you hit the worst example or the most misogynist example, you find another one.
Escapism is big business. More than half of us are already playing games like this one, Grand Theft Auto 5. But critics say in these virtual worlds, things often take a turn toward the dark side.
Maybe because it's the internet, Anita. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of dark sides to every medium, whether it's the internet, YouTube, some random forum. There's going to be a dark side to everything in the real world as well. So not just everything has a bright side. So yeah, hate to burst your bubble on that.
As a player, you can solicit a prostitute, kill her, and if that's not enough, you have the option to run her over.
Yes, you have an option to kill a prostitute just out of blue. That's all I have to say. I mean, if you want to kill a prostitute, yeah, you can do it. Nothing against that.
The sense of violence against women being used as almost background decoration, right? As texture to make an environment gritty, more real.
There are plenty of games that aren't violent or sexualized, but some of the best-selling games are especially egregious.
Can you give us examples? But knowing that Anita and this news piece, they don't give us one because they know that they're going to lose any type of common sense or debate. So they just don't name any because they know they're going to lose.
On her website, Anita dissects these games.
Developers regularly utilize the brutalization of women's bodies, and especially the bodies of female prostitutes.
Her goal? To bring attention to what she calls the inherent misogyny in the gaming world.
I'll teach you!
In Watch Dogs, she points out how women are murdered to give the hero a reason to chase down a bad guy.
It seems like you just stood there and let the guy kill the woman. So that kind of counteracts your point to me, but so why is it, you refuse to act to save this woman? Why did you refuse to save her life? I know why you did it. Because you want to prove a point and you're right. So, yeah.
It gets worse and worse. It reinforces this idea of women as sexual objects, right? It reinforces this idea of women as playthings for their amusement.
And it's this kind of talk that makes her a target.
Yes, her lies make her a target. And now you finally pointed it out, and how far we're into this, news story. This is why I don't like some journalists. They just fabricate stuff to make it sound true.
And that's when the cyber mob, right, the hate mob descended.
Bombarding her with mostly anonymous tweets and messages. I will rape you when I get the chance. Hiding behind usernames and claims of free speech. I'm sitting outside your apartment with a loaded gun. Your neighbors won't hear you screaming in pain.
The last time I checked, I don't think threats of any kind is protected under the First Amendment, because there was a debate on that. I mean, I know a few other things are not protected in the First Amendment, but I definitely know that threats and many other things are not protected under free speech. So I think as a journalist who should know what the First Amendment does and does not protect, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, you kind of can see what kind of shitty story this is. So
someone even created a grotesque game where players can beat and punch a picture of her face.
My response to that is childish and very stupid. I do not know how to program a game, so I wouldn't even be that stupid to make one. So, yeah, some people can be immature.
But the virtual harassment turned very real when her online attackers published her social security number, her home address. And she's not the only one.
Okay, I do not support doxing of any kind or leaking anybody's other personal information online. So, if anyone thinks I would ever do this in my life, the answer will be no, because it's childish and stupid. And I think it's pathetic that people are still complaining about that, even though it is kind of stupid.
They told me they were coming to kill me. They told me specifically they were going to castrate my husband.
Women like Brianna Wu, an independent game developer, was even driven out of her home, all for simply tweeting her opinion.
When someone posts your address online and they tell you they're going to murder your whole family, you don't really feel safe staying at that location.
Okay, to be kind of fair on Brianna Wu, yeah, I do kind of don't like her because she's, buddy with, Anita Sarkeesian, but, if you're going to do something stupid, just don't involve their family. Just say, hey, I know this is your opinion, but here's what I think, blah, 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 and just get on with your life. You don't need to threaten people because it's just stupid. It's just stupid, people.
So far, the Gamergate harassment against Brianna and other women like her has remained online. But the FBI is taking it seriously enough that it started a file.
Here's what I think about this. Okay, if the FBI investigated and found nothing wrong, which they did not, I mean, they didn't find anything illegal or anything with this movement, but yeah, maybe like, I think it was like under maybe like 0.7% of people made threats. And yet they're categorizing everything with Gamergate, the harassment with the ethics and journalism. To me, it was supposed to be about ethics and journalism. That's what Gamergate was about, ethics and journalism. And it did not need the FBI to get involved and waste our taxpayer money on this stupid investigation. That's my thought.
I'm so hesitant to use the phrase terror because I think it's such a politically loaded word, but it's terrorism on women in this industry. It's scaring every single one of us.
Okay, I'm going to be on a limb on this, okay? So if criticism on, anything that you do is a form of terrorism, or you just being in an industry considered terrorism, we're trying to get Brianna, because if you're saying that for women who are being in industry, who are being harassed by men, it's terrorism. We need to get rid of these terrorists. Brianna, listen to me. Unless you're killing people, massive amount of people who disagree with you, then yeah, that will probably be called terrorism. I mean, Charles Manson, yeah, he terrorized a lot of people back in his day. Yeah, so he was pretty much a terrorist for his day and age, but how can you call a simple form of criticism saying, oh, you shouldn't be in this industry, or you should be being somebody's, you should just be stay in the kitchen and make babies. Now, stuff like that's probably this form of criticism gone a little too far. Granted, I have heard it several times from men, mostly from foreign countries, say it to women. It sickens me to hear that anybody will just take criticism just a little too far. Let's continue.
Why such hate? Why such anger?
I think a lot of it comes from this idea that gaming is a male-dominated space, right? And that games are for men by men. It's a very misogynist backlash. We are not meant to be treated with respect.
If I remember right, Assassin's Creed was created by a woman, and a lot of other good games that Ubisoft had over the years were done by women or had a woman's hands involved. So yeah, saying that games of men-only business is ridiculous. I mean, a majority of game companies do aim for men, but sometimes they do get women in buying their products. So yeah, so I don't think she's even right about that.
Something even the casual female gamer is sadly familiar with. Watch what happens when the men in this online session of Counter-Strike learn that there's a woman playing in their midst.
Are you an archaeologist? Because I have a big bone that needs examining, Mrs. Pretty Lady. If I subscribe, will you give me a big kiss?
It's less brutal than what Anita and Brianna experienced, but it does show the ease with which offensive behavior is tossed out at women.
I'll give you my skins for some skin, if you know what I mean, huh, sexy lady, huh?
I'm really just here to play, like everybody else.
Call me crazy, but I think that the same guy who's been says that whole shit, the whole deal. Because I mean, if it was like 2 or 3 guys, okay, yeah, I see their point. But when it's the same guy, yeah, it's just, I think this is pathetic. That I think it was staged.
But she's not treated like everyone else, which is at the heart of Gamergate. Media critics argue women like Stephanie need to stop being abused as players in the real world and as avatars in the virtual world. And given that women make up nearly half of this country's gamers, this isn't a feminist issue, it's just smart business.
The demographics should be a huge wake-up call to executives at gaming companies, because there is a huge amount of money to be made out of taking women seriously, and out of demonstrating to women that you are taking them seriously.
Okay, Gamergate is about ethics and journalism, not treating women the same as men. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. If you're playing the same game as I am, and we're trying to get through a part where it's so hard that I'm getting my ass handed to the left and right, and if a woman helps me out, I appreciate her help because she's showing what I'm doing wrong, maybe. See, I'm admitting that women can help men out in video games. And is it just me, or are those ladies in the who are supposed to be playing Street Fighter 4 just smashing buttons left and right? Because I don't think I even do that when I play Street Fighter or any other fighter game. So, yeah.
We've reached out for comment multiple times to Rockstar Games, Ubisoft, the companies behind these games, to ask about the way women are portrayed. But thus far, we've received no reply. And yet there are some signs of change in the gaming community.
It's just time to just realize things from a different perspective. It's time to see how would a woman look at this?
More and more developers like Tim Schafer are seeing the need for more women programmers and more girl-friendly games, like Broken Age.
I better go find that knife.
I mean, once you sat down and tried to play the game with your daughter and tried to find games where she can play a character that she identifies with, you start to feel bad about not putting that option in your own game.
Okay, Tim Schafer, ultimate genius of our time. You know, probably the American version of Hideo Kojima, another great game developer. And I do see his points. Yes, we should be focusing on, women for games, but I'm more likely willing to bet men will play any game they want to play, because I probably got a game or two in my library that's for probably aimed towards women, and yet I'm playing it. So, yeah.
Even Lara Croft, the famous Tomb Raider, got a makeover. More clothes, less curves.
Okay. Let me just make a quick comment on the redesign of Lara Croft. I was kind of against it at first, but after a while, I kind of see why they had to change. They had to give her a redesign, but still, I think the redesign is way better than what she originally looked like. But I do believe that it's okay to redesign a character if you're going to completely reboot the franchise, except for what they did for Devil May Cry DMC. God, that game sucked.
I remember playing Tomb Raider Guardian of the Light, and it was produced by a woman, and it was like a really good game. The game did well, so we're going to see more of that.
The majority of gamers, like Chris Scott, manager of 8-Bit and Up, condemn Gamergate's threats of violence.
Which way is he? Which way is he?
But he's not alone in believing critics like Anita exaggerate the problem.
You see, somebody is a man and likes the fact that women are getting involved in games. Wow, that's exciting. It's like a ray of sunshine has finally come into my deep, dark soul. Horrible, soulless barley. Yeah, I know I'm exaggerating a bit, but it's just ridiculous that they finally have a man talking. Wow, how interesting.
She's trying to capitalize on controversy.
He also says the gaming world on the whole shouldn't be judged by a few extreme examples.
Okay, when people complain about games like Assassin's Creed, Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, or whatever, it's similar to complaining about hip-hop and rap music today, saying, well, it's violent. That's not what hip-hop is about. You can't judge gaming by what's selling. You have to really get into the medium to understand it before you start saying, well, this is what gaming is about.
Well, bravo, sir. You probably made more common sense than anyone in this whole news story ever said. Because, yeah, if you're comparing hip-hop to video games, then, yeah, they've probably been through more trouble than anything. Yeah, hip-hop had a lot of controversy back in the 80s and 90s, especially when NWA was trying to break out in the scene. Oh yeah, those guys were really good guys. Yeah. But anyways, still, it just sickens me to say that we're just capitalizing on controversy because we can. Oh yeah, we're just gonna capitalize on this because it's gonna make us money. Yeah, that's what Anita is doing. She's capitalizing on a controversy and making money. And not many people are liking it because she's saying bad things that are pretty much lies. I mean, same thing happened to Jack Thompson. Yeah, he's kind of gone away over the last few years, but I'm hoping and afraid that Anita goes away eventually as well, because she sure is looking like that. It's the way her YouTube channel has been going. So yeah, very, very smart guy here.
Scott suggests at the end of the day, they're just games.
I know in the real world there are strong women that don't need to be saved.
How do you respond to critics who say, well, this is fantasy, this is not reality, you have to lighten up?
Yeah, that's a fun argument. Games have a huge impact on our society, so it's not just fantasy. It actually works to potentially reinforce some pretty harmful messages about women.
What harmful messages are you talking about? Because that's where I seem to understand here. I mean, like, it seems like Scott is the only one that makes sense. I mean, and yet he only got maybe like, what, 20 seconds, Anita. And Anita may have like, what, a minute or so? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much. I mean, yeah. I mean, if a guy who's only in a story for 20 seconds makes more sense than a woman and that's in it for almost the entire, news story, then I get to think that Anita Sarkeesian is just full of bullshit, and she just doesn't seem to care about destroying our livelihoods or whatever she's been bitching about fantasy or fantasy and such. I mean, like, that's all it is. Video games are nothing more than fantasy, and that's that. Get over it, Anita.
For Nightline, I'm Juju Chang in San Francisco, California.
Out of all the ways they could have ended this, they could have just ended her play, as I think it's Faith from Mirror's Edge, but no, they play. They're showing her playing. I think it's Dishonored, and they're showing where they kill assassins are killing a queen or the empress. Sorry. I think she's just. I think this is nothing more than a hit piece, and I'm literally disgusted that I have spent a couple hours commenting on this, and I mean I know I spent less than a couple hours, but I mean I've been doing this for about a couple hours, editing and such, but I'm just disgusted that this is nothing more than a hit piece. It just shows that gamers are just sick people, but yet there are very few people that are literally sane, like Scott. Out of this whole deal, I think it's just that the black guy, Scott, is the only one that makes sense in this whole thing. So, yeah. I'm not against Anita Sarkeesian's views, but when she's only cherry picking and saying, "Oh, I'm a gamer. I've been a gamer all my life," and yet she lies that she's never been a gamer, so her whole life, it just sickens me. So yeah. So that's that. So I'm done with this news piece. So just like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys later.